forum post wise, things get interesting here. The same Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs commander who's been talking shit on the Dark Wheel project and me personally for weeks on the Xbox chat at different CGs and whatnot. People have been sending me pictures like, there's this panda, gray panda, something. He's saying this, and they keep sending me screenshots of like random shit that he says where it's like, we must stop the tyranny of Kaizen and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Okay, whatever, dude. I mean, I really wish I knew your weed guy, because like your shit seems to be on point. You're like on another fucking planet, but like, all right, whatever. This guy opened up a thread on the forums, on the official forums, in which in the original post, he names me like a dozen times. He has since edited my name out of the original post because I think like everybody told him like, dude, what are you doing? He said I was like a frontier plant, that I'm like a frontier employee. And it's like, okay, you clearly know me very well because, yeah, Frontier loves everything I have to say. And then he says like, oh, we've got some inside information and then we're doing some shenanigans or something. So at one point he said I was like a corrupt dictator and the most powerful commander in the galaxy who will rule over Earth with an iron fist. And it's like, again, like, dude, I wish I knew your fucking weed guy. Cause like, so here, just a couple of things. Let me just point out some shit. Number one, I don't own the Dark Wheel faction. The Dark Wheel faction is a non-player faction. It's owned by Frontier. They control it. I have no more control over the Dark Wheel faction according to the game, in-game lore or whatever. I have no more control over that than he does, or any of the panel of guests on tonight do. Also, spoiler alert, and it's a low percentage chance, it is a very low percentage chance that the Dark Wheel moves into the Sol system. It could happen. There's a hole there. There's 6 factions there. There's a place for another faction to go there. And maybe the Dark Wheel would be the perfect faction to go there because it's a non-player faction. It's a faction that Frontier controls. They can write the story. They can say, Frontier can say that the Dark Wheel does this or does that or does whatever because they own it. It's theirs. Of course they wouldn't let Hutton stay in Sol. Of course they wouldn't let, you know, the Dogs of Lore or the Lave Radio or name any faction that's owned by players. They won't let you move in there because that's their playground. That's their story. In case you're watching and you're thinking, man, I can't wait to see the Dark Wheel take over Sol. The Dark Wheel will never take over Sol unless Frontier decides 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, in some weird storyline that they want that to happen. Sol is owned by the Federation, one of the main 3 superpowers of the entire game. In fact, the mainest of the main 3 superpower, the biggest superpower. Of course, nothing's going to change with that unless if Frontier were to make some weird storyline where like, hey, the summit explodes and Orisa Lavinia Duval is the only one left in charge, and over the next year or two, as part of a major story arc that Frontier controls completely, you know, the Empire takes over the Federation space. Okay, then maybe that could happen, but that's at the control of Frontier, not me. If the Alliance were to take over, or if the Thargoids were to burn the bubble and destroy Earth and take over the souls, like, yes, these are all theoretically things that could happen at the control of Frontier Developments. Their story, their whatever. From David Braben's mind, if they want to do it, that will happen. Spoiler alert, there is 0% chance that some asshole leading a group of players is going to somehow overthrow the Federation. Like, if you're expecting that to happen, again, let me know who your weed guy is, because I want to get some of that. That's not a possibility. So, like, relax, dude. So this thread started wacky as all shit, and then got wackier from there when there is one particular forum moderator. His name is Osric. Hello. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to call your name out. He has had it out from us from the very beginning because I embarrassed him when the thread started, and he was like, you'll never be able to expand, and we did. And then he told Drew Wagar, like, you can't comment on the thread for Galnet because you have a conflict of interest because you're a writer for Frontier. Like, asshole, he's a fucking person who bought the game. He's got every right to talk on the thread as any of the rest of us do. And if for some reason he didn't have like a reason, or if he wasn't allowed to make a comment on a thing, they're not going to ask some fucking jerk off in his mom's basement who's a volunteer moderator, some petty little fucking dictator, like, you deal with him. They would have their legal team message him privately and say, hey, Drew, shut the fuck up. But they didn't, because he has every right to have an opinion like every other player in the game. And yet this petty little jerk off moderator went at Drew and told him, like, you can't talk. You're not allowed. And he's got his little purple tag. So Drew was like, I'm just gonna take a break from the Discord or from the forums. And like, he stopped posting on the forums for a while. He came back eventually, but like, this same guy has had it in for me from the beginning. And no matter what I say on any thread, he will he will immediately come in, post some fucking bullshit responses, and like try to start an argument. And then as soon as you start an argument, if you argue back, if you just say like, hey, you're clearly just a guy expressing his own personal fucking opinions, you're not acting as a moderator here. But then as soon as you respond back, then they hit you with like Rule 14, like, you can't question moderators. I've said this before. This started with Arson, who brought it to my attention. The moderators on Elite Discord forums, on the official forums, have come in, bullied different posts with their own, or threads with their own personal opinions. They set shit up, and then if you try to make a reasoned, a logical statement in response to that they don't like, okay, this thread is closed, we'll kill this thread, they've killed so many threads on the subject of crime and punishment because they don't like it. They want to go with what they want to go with. And these petty little fucking dictators with their little ounce of power have just been 100% trolling people and killing threads and bullying people and acting like fucking cunts. It's straight up ridiculous. So yeah, this guy came in. He started off acting specifically in a post where he's acting as a moderator saying, keep to the subject. Don't do crosstalk, this, that, and the other. Obviously, this entire subject is a waste of time. This project is a waste of time because nobody can move into a permit system, but maintain discussion on the subject. Okay, so you're acting as a moderator in the post and also saying flat out, oh, this subject is a waste of time. Don't, like, whatever. Like, no, it's just gross, dude. It's just fucking gross. Then I responded back to that, to which they deleted my post and then sent me a warning. Okay. The Frontier official forums are a fucking dumpster fire. I've spoken literally face to face with the community. Well, not face to face, but on comms with a community manager who said flat out, like, yeah, we know. His exact quote was, we know that it's extremely poor, but there's nothing we can do about it right now. It requires a lot of effort. So we're leaving it alone. Oh, okay. Frontier, fix your shit. Get your house in order, because these petty little dictators are ruining your forums. And it's disgusting. It's gross at this point. Mattius, you had a point you wanted to add?
I'll be quite restrained. I'll try at least to be quite restrained when I say this, but basically I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm not just trying to lick your arse or anything. I'm just saying I completely agree with what you're saying. On Frontier Development's side, the community engagement needs to be a lot better, and they need to listen to people rather than listening to moderators or the more favorable ears that have the court, basically. And that's all I'll say. Right on.
Hey, just as a heads up, I see the original posting Pothead is actually in the chat right now. You're watching us live. Panda the Gray, he responded with a post saying, cool, act like I didn't DM you and try to talk to you about this. So just to be clear, because I don't want to have any question, Panda the Gray absolutely messaged me directly and said, hey man, whoops, I'm sorry, because I posted a thing saying, and I didn't care about Panda. I wasn't trying to censor Panda at all. He's got every right to, like, dude, smoke your weed. Be a fucking weirdo. Cool. Say your shit. It's all good. I don't mind. It's totally cool. But I wanted to call out the forum moderator team for having double fucking standards, because he created a whole thread that named me like 12 times in the thread and made allegations about me personally when they killed my thread on crime and punishment after a community manager said it was a good thread because there was crosstalk. There was like 2 or 3 posts where people were talking to each other and they were like, we're killing this thread. That was the only point I was trying to make, was I was calling out the community forum moderators for their bullshit. I wasn't calling out you, Panda. I don't mind your post. I think you, again, are high as fuck, but like, that's okay. You can have whatever opinion you wanted. I didn't want you or need you to edit my name out of shit. Like, you could go on whatever. So to clarify, so there's no misunderstanding for people, Panda 100% messaged me and said like, oh man, I'm sorry. I think I maybe broke a rule. I shouldn't have mentioned you. I shouldn't have made allegations about you personally. I should have just made allegations about the Dark Wheel project. And then he messaged me a second time saying like, well, all of your people, all of your fanboys are now, you know, harassing and saying that like I was improper in making this thread. So I'm going to go back and edit your name. And then he edited my name out of the original post. So the original post now has no mention of me personally. It does not say Kaizen once. Like, Panda, I'm not calling you out for that, man. You're fine. I think your thread was stupid, but like, you have a right to your thoughts. I'm sure I might make a thread that you think is stupid. Like, that's fine. You have a right to that. It's all good. Dude, I have a dozen pictures of random shit you were saying to me, which I can show you later if you like, of people that were like, dude, this guy in Xbox is talking shit on you in the CG, in the CG zone, and yada, yada, yada. I don't have a problem with that. You can think whatever you want of me. I swear to you, I don't work for Frontier. And now that you've listened to this show and heard me shit on them, I think you probably believe that now. But like, it is what it is. Like, you have a right to your own fucking silly beliefs. You go ahead and keep on being cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's all good. It's fine. I don't have a problem with you. You don't have any power. I have a problem with the forum moderators because they have power and they're doing wrong. You're not doing wrong. You're just being a little fucking weirdo. Shine on, you crazy diamond. It's all good. Tweet, you had a point?
Yeah, going back to the forums and the moderator problem, this is an issue we've talked about before, near and dear to Arson's heart, actually. And
oh yeah,
and them saying that it takes a lot of effort and they just can't deal with it right now, that's bullshit. I'll call it right out as it is. That's total bullshit. What it takes is actually putting somebody on, or a couple somebodies on, a payroll. So it's going to cost them a little bit of money, but this is public relations, and this is something they've got to get a hold of before it gets even more out of hand than it already is.